Her 14-year-old son. Imagine the trauma of seeing your mother being pummeled by a man, and a strange man. You don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. You are afraid for your mother, okay? That boy did what he was supposed to do. He got in between his mom and the danger. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my grandma, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Get your food. Get the gun. Hey. Get your food. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh my grandma, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Oh, say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Get your food. All right. So, woo. So we all know by now that this man in the video is now deceased because the woman's son came in the store or restaurant, whatever, carry out, whatever, and shot the man in the back. Now there's controversy. Some people are saying that the mother should not have let her son or put her son into the situation, her 14-year-old son, who's the one that shot the man in the back and killed him. But some people, there are mixed accounts of the story. Of the story, whatever investigation was done, the police released the son and his mother from custody because they didn't have enough proof that they were going to be able to prove the charge of first-degree murder or prove any wrongdoing in the situation. The mother reportedly was licensed to carry. Some people say the mother texted her son and told him to come in and bring my gun. And then when he shot him, she said, he shot him in the back and he was running. And then he shot him again. She said, shoot him again or kill him and, shoot the witness or whatever, or his girlfriend that was there or whatever. But then that came out to be unfounded. So there are people who actually are blaming, once again, the single mother, the Black single mother, saying that, this is the problem with these single mothers. And if the father was living in the home, that this wouldn't have happened, and all types of nonsense, and that she shouldn't allow her son to get in a situation like that and use her son to fight her battles like that. I completely disagree. You got a 14-year-old son. You're a single mother. You're a woman. And you're getting pummeled by a grown man, a 32-year-old man. And you see how aggressive this man was. Okay? You see, let's look at his disposition again. Okay, right there. You see his fist? I mean, he is fully flexed. Look at his forearm. He got them Popeye forearms. He is in a stance, a stance of aggression. Look at this hand here. He's tense. Now, yeah, I don't know what she was saying. I don't know what they were arguing about. I don't know what the fuss was about. but she is not being physically threatening to him. She's saying what she's saying, whatever she's saying. I don't know what transpired to get him and trigger him to get this heated. He's in beast mode, or as they say today, demon mode. He's on demon time right there. Right? And so he's warning this woman. This is clearly premeditated. He's in a mind state, but he had time to rethink it. It wasn't impulsive because he was warning her.
Get your food. Get your food. If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
If you say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. He's threatening her. So he's premeditating. He's meditating on knocking her out. Regardless of what they're arguing about. This woman is not in his face being a threat. What reason does he have to knock her out? To shut her up?
Oh my God, I said one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out. Say one more thing, I'm gonna knock you out.
Okay. So we're not gonna do too much of that image right there. But you see how he had his fist balled, ready. He was in ready position to fight. So this was not an impulsive reaction, heat of the moment. Although, yeah, it was heat in the moment, but it wasn't like he was suddenly triggered out of nowhere and he impulsively, physically had a physical response that was unconscious. This man was very conscious, although he was unconscious. He was in beast mode. So you're not really conscious when you're in beast mode. But he was conscious enough to be accountable for his actions. Whatever his mindset was, his mentality brought him there to that space to feel justified, to warn a woman, shut your mouth, get your food, I'm warning you, say one more word, I'm gonna knock you out. So who does he think he is? Who does he think he is to tell someone that he's going to knock them out if they say one more word? Look, we all pray that we never be in a situation where we're tested to the point where our anger is so high that we become in the animal consciousness of our being, so triggered that we have to physically attack someone like that. It could happen to any of us if you allow your mind to get to that state. But once you're in that state and you produce the actions that have the effect of physically harming someone, especially a woman who was not trying to physically harm you, she just talking her shit, just like you talking your shit, then the consequences of that is, that's what the consequences is. So her 14-year-old son, imagine the trauma of seeing your mother being pummeled by a man, and a strange man. You don't know what the outcome of that is going to be. You are afraid for your mother, okay? That boy did what he was supposed to do. He got in between his mom and the danger. Okay, so what are you training your boys to do? Are you training your boys to not protect their mothers? No, that's the young lion. You don't want your young sons in that situation. But your young son who steps up to protect his mother, give him a Medal of Honor. Give him a Medal of Honor. Am I saying that that man deserved to die? I'm not saying he deserved to die, but I'm not saying he didn't deserve to die. I don't advocate violence, right? But I do advocate protecting ourselves and protecting our loved ones from the violence and neutralizing the violence in the best way possible that we can do that. Okay? I don't know if they said that these two individuals did not have a history. They didn't know each other. I don't know what in the world they could have been arguing about in the short amount of time of being in that restaurant, if that's where they first met at that moment, what in the world could you be arguing about to make you want to pummel a woman in her face like that, in her head? Obviously, he had something else psychologically going on. He had this type of predisposition before he even entered that restaurant. Maybe he had, I don't know the man. We don't know his history. But, maybe he had a mentality where he did not respect women at all. Or maybe it was just something happened previously to put him in a mind state that conversation, that argument triggered him to just go over the top. But there's so many layers of lessons in this experience that we need to look at. For one, it speaks to the importance of always being aware of your mental and emotional disposition. You have to stay conscious. My teacher, Shaha Mfundishi Masi, always said, never let your consciousness wane, not even for a moment. We can't waver in our mindfulness. We have to be mindful of who we are and where we are at every time. Where are we emotionally? Where are we mentally? And who are we really? Are we the body? Are we the ego? Are we the emotions? Are we the instincts? Or are these things vehicles that help us to navigate through the world? And these things must be tools, and we must always be the driver, in the driver's seat. You're no longer in the driver's seat when your emotions and your instincts for survival take over. Now, we're pre-wired to have survival instincts, but some of the trauma that we experience triggers these survival instincts at times when it's not reasonable and it's not practical. Because when these survival instincts kick in, that's fight, flight, freeze, or feed. That's kicking in, and then you become unconscious and it takes over. But we have to constantly be in training, because in these situations, we have to already be used to mentally and emotionally staying conscious and aware in the moment, so that we don't allow our anger and fear to get away from us and then do things that we would regret. That's the importance of training the mind, training the body, training the spirit, training the emotions. That's why in the Raise the Level mandate, all males of all ages from the cradle to the grave should be in some type of brotherhood or manhood group where there's constant training and reinforcement of manhood code of honor, the codes of honor on things that we should do in ways that we should and should not behave as men. We need to start teaching that to our boys from when they're babies, and the training must continue and then shift on certain levels of sophistication as they get more mature. And then all the way through adulthood, no matter what phase of adulthood you're in, even through your eldership, be a part of some type of brotherhood. Join a brotherhood or create one. And then all these brotherhoods link up together cohesively through an agreed upon code of honor, code of behavior for men of all ages. And we have to train one another to live up to this and maintain this consistently throughout our lives. Because one of the codes needs to be, do not argue and raise your voice to a woman. Whoa, he's simping. Don't raise your voice to a woman. When I'm talking about not raising your voice, okay, yeah, we know you're gonna raise your voice. Certain situations, your voice will raise, but your goal, your intention to be never to get into an argument with a woman. And humans need to have this type of code anyway with any human. Why argue? But you have to understand, as a man, that fire, that innate warrior, that hunter, every man has a killer within him. Every man does. And so does every woman. Don't get it twisted. So, when a man and woman are arguing, they're in the animal mind. Okay? It's combative. We at war. When we arguing, we're not listening to one another. We're not listening, seeking to understand. We're listening only enough to prepare our next argument, our next point. Because then in an argument, the objective is to win. So then you got two animals facing each other. Rah, 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 rah. Now, when the two animals are growling at each other, if it lasts, the longer it lasts, the more likely the physical attack is going to happen. The physical engagement is going to happen. We as men need to know ourselves enough to know that the longer I engage in an aggressive verbal argument, the closer I am getting to physical combat. I'm going to lash out physically. Because in an argument, you're fighting to win. You're fighting for survival and you're fighting to win. And eventually, if you argue long enough and in close enough proximity, you're more and more likely to physically attack. So back off of the aggression. When you see a woman coming at you a certain way and you hear certain words, a certain energy, you got to be mindful enough to detect where this is going. And you got to redirect that energy, back off of that energy. Because as a man, you have to know that you have the element of fire that can, if it's uncontrolled, it can do some severe damage. And not only damage to others, but also damage to you in your life. So you have to temper your fire by not engaging with women in an aggressive manner. So you know that the aggression is increasing when there becomes less moments, less time between each person making a point. Like when I make a point, and then when she makes a point, the closer that gap is from point to point, each other going back and forth, the closer the more aggressive and more heated the conversation is getting. The faster we're talking, because now we're not thinking. We're not being mindful. We're not mindfully choosing our words. We're emotionally expressing, we're venting on one another. But when you vent the animal verbally and emotionally, eventually someone's going to attack. And you both may initiate the attack at the same time. So we shouldn't vent without setting a container if we're going to be venting at each other. A container, shout out to Juju Mama, shout out to Psalms with the up level concept, the up level communications concept and technology. Okay? You don't want to vent without setting a safe space, creating a safe space of trust among the people that are venting. So a vent is not an argument. When someone's venting, they're allowed to have the safe space to express themselves and you be the witness. So obviously a container was not set, but venting was happening between both the man and the woman. He allowed himself to engage in an aggressive argument, which eventually manifested physically into his fist being balled. His Popeye muscles in his forearm being flexed. You can see it. And he was ready and he was giving warning. But the woman was being no threat to him. She was just talking her shit. So then his physical expression was met by the young man, the 14-year-old boy, having his mother's gun, shooting his mother. He did what he was supposed to do. Am I saying he was supposed to shoot him? No, but a 14-year-old boy compared to a 32-year-old man, you know, I don't know if he was physically able to meet that type of force from a 32-year-old angry grown man attacking your mother. So he did what he had to do, and he met his force with another level of force from the weapon that he had. Okay. We have to get it together, man. You know, this behavior is not acceptable. And the young Herikohuti, the young Ogun, the young embodiment of Ogun came and had to protect his mother. He deserves a Medal of Honor. And yes, if the mother did say, "Son, come help me," she was within her right to do so, because that's her young warrior. That's her young warrior. Okay? We shouldn't be raising our young sons to be weak, effeminate cowards. Okay? Now, no judgment if, someone, happens to be, too afraid in a moment and fear takes over and they're not able to respond. But that mother and son bond, all bets are off. That mother and son bond like that, I'm glad they got set free. Because what are we telling society if we're telling young males that you can't protect your mother if they're being attacked? I mean, his method, he's not trained, he's not a trained SWAT soldier or something like that. He's not trained on how to de-escalate. But at that point, it wasn't about de-escalation. It was about neutralizing the threat and protecting his mother. Okay? So, we can't not expect a young boy to temporarily lose his mind if he see his mom being attacked. But I say that boy did not lose his mind. He maintained his mind. He maintained his clarity. And he was very clear. Oh, hell no. You're not doing this to my mother. Okay? So let that be a message to all men. When you have an engagement with a woman, that woman is somebody's mother, somebody's daughter, somebody's sister. Okay? So expect consequences if you go there. And let the knowledge of that be enough to check the beast within you that would, lash out on a woman based on an argument, based on words. Now, if she was physically attacking this man in his face and hitting him first, then okay, maybe the conversation right now would be different. This woman was arguing. She was just talking. She wasn't in his face. She was maintaining her space and her distance. He was being aggressive, threatening, from the video, from what we can see in the video. I'm no lawyer, but I can see, and I got common sense. So there's also, another thing that we can look at about this. What is this deep anger between black men and black women? I mean, I say, what is it? We know what it is. Well, for one, we should know that we have to do some healing. We have some serious healing that we have to do. As a people and as Black men and Black women, we have some serious healing that we need to do. For one, what we need to do is tear down this brick wall that's behind me. We need to tear down this brick wall that's in our hearts towards one another. There's not all of us. Most of us, we love each other and we do the best to demonstrate this love to one another. This is not most of us, but it's enough that where you can see the constant debates and arguments, male versus female in the Black community, we can see that something must be healed. Something must be corrected in our psyche, in the way we're looking and perceiving one another, the way we feel about each other. We need to resolve this. We need to resolve this. Okay? So that's part of the reason for the Raise the Level mandate, but also part of the reason for what me and my wife are doing together called Sacred Opportunities. You know, our mission in Sacred Opportunities is to get us to understand that when we are engaging with one another as people, you're engaging in a relationship. And that engagement is a sacred opportunity for growth, healing, learning, loving, laughing, etc. And so we have these moments together while we're alive, while we're living and traveling in this journey together. Not just a couple, but just as people on the planet at the same time. We have an opportunity in all of our engagements for growth. Do we recognize the play, though? Do we recognize what we're being directed to in any given situation? What opportunity is presenting itself? There's always an opportunity to grow, to learn, to heal, to love, and to laugh. So we need to take more opportunities to laugh. You see, because if this 32-year-old man would not have physically attacked this woman, then he would be alive today. And he could be, thinking back on that situation, be like, wow, we was tripping. I don't know what I was so pissed off about. And if he was alert to the sacred opportunity, like, how did I get into that argument? You know what? That wasn't even about her. It was about something else that happened early today, and I got triggered. Then over time, he may grow from that and heal from that. Then he could look back on that and laugh at himself, be like, yo, I was tripping. I'd be tripping sometimes. I don't know. We was arguing about chicken wings or something. Then we can laugh at ourselves. But when we go to the violence, then it often ends up to be a point of no return. Because there's extra damage to the psyche when the physical violence comes in. Yeah, there's damage when the verbal violence comes in. There's emotional damage to that as well. But then when it gets to the point of the physical, it's like we lost all respect to the boundaries, all respect and appreciation to that person's existence on the planet, where we tried to do physical harm to them. And that is recorded in the person's psyche as an extreme violation of my self-worth and value. Now, it starts verbally, though. That's what we have to understand. The violence begins verbally. It begins mentally in the mind based on your disposition and your understanding of self, who you are. What are you identifying with? Are you identifying with your ego as being you? That ego is always threatened. Or are you identifying with the true self, which is unaffected and unmoved by anything that is happening in the environment? Because the nature of the self, the real self, is peace. It's formless. And so you get to choose how you react to any situation by controlling your emotions and choosing how your emotions will be expressed, because you're the sole controller. You're the master of your vehicle. But we have to train. We have to practice this. We have to meditate. We have to get beyond all of the physical, emotional, and ego identification as being us. That's not who and what we are. Your emotions are physical expressions of your thoughts, and your thinking is your thinking based on truth of who you are. Is it based in that and based on that? Or is your thinking based on your ego's identification? Oh, I'm this. I'm a man. You don't talk to me like that. I'm a man, woman. Shut up, woman. Stay in your place, woman. Watch your mouth, woman. Before I knock you out. Cause I'm the man. And when I say shut up, you shut up. Oh, you ain't gonna shut up? Now you threatening my identity as a man. You threatening me. So now we gotta fight. We have to train. We have to practice. Humble ourselves enough to train and practice mindfulness, mastery over our emotions, mastery over our mouths. Shout out to the Egg Bay of Conquering. When we went through our Egg Bay training, our manhood training, we had to sit in awo. And sitting in awo means that you're in a state of mind where you will be unmoved. You're like the mummy, that austere depiction of the mummy, which represents you being unmoved by anything in the world. You're being unmoved by any emotions, ego, etc. So no matter what someone says in your ear, you are not going to react. Got to train that way. Got to practice that. Got to practice a scenario. Practice with yourself. Practice with your homeboys. Okay, what if a woman comes at you and says the most disrespectful, demeaning, hurtful thing to you in a way that is so vile and disgusting? What you gonna do? You got to practice visualizing and seeing yourself react peacefully, staying calm, being unmoved, responding like Osir would respond. Shout out to Shechem or Shechem, Ra'un Nefer Amen. Respond like Osir would respond, unmoved. She all in your face. Yeah. You ain't shit, nigga. You ain't shit. You ain't motherfucker. She talking all types of shit, and you just holding your square. Shout out to the 5%ers. Peace to the gods and the earth. You holding your square. You standing on your square, and you ain't being moved. You just observing. You doing the knowledge. Okay, I see that you're in a very emotional state right now. This is what you're thinking. But you're not saying nothing because you know that at that moment, saying something would just intensify the situation. So you waiting for the storm to settle down. Okay, because she like a tornado, she like a hurricane. Whipping. You like, all you doing is standing on your square, holding your square, and you're breathing. That's the only thing that you're trying to control, your breath. That's the only thing that you need to control in that moment, your breath. You're breathing. You're making sure your breaths are deep, full, and complete. And they're slow and they're rhythmic. And when you do that, you calm the inner beast. And then the frontal lobes take over. The prefrontal lobes, which is where your will and your ability to reason is prevalent. And the animal now is being tamed. And as you do that, you will see that her energy starts to calm down. Her emotional waters start to settle. Because right then and there ain't the time to debate. Because you add your ego to the situation, y'all just going to be head clashing. And eventually somebody going to fight physically. Give her empty space, nothing to grasp, nothing to fight onto. Don't give the fight nothing to build up with. Don't nurture the fight, you nurture the peace. And then when things calm down and she's in a more reasonable state, a more energetic, balanced, and settled state, then maybe you can begin to calmly discuss some stuff. But if the other person is not willing to calmly have a conversation, then there's nothing to talk about because you're just going to end up arguing. You have to keep your beast, you have to keep your animal in check. So let these things that happen and that we see in the media when people are just crashing and burning out, just the animal just taking over, and we seeing the results. Let this be lessons. This is a sacred opportunity for us to take this lesson. Therefore, it's a blessing if we learn from it. Let's learn. Let's learn and let's grow from all these situations, family. All right. Peace and love. Stay awake, stay clear, stay calm.